The reason I'm making this video is because a couple of months ago, I had a conversation with a female colleague of mine. She's about in her 50s, I don't know. And she was telling me, you see, she heard on the radio, you see, our wonderful government has finally decided and decreed that children should uh, have sexual education. They have finally decided this, and I think it starts at fifth grade or eighth grade, whatever. And this female colleague of mine, in her 50s, she was like fucking excited. She was like, oh, finally this happens, and this is just between us, but she was a bit aroused by this as well. Fucking weird. Uh, but she was like, yes, finally, of course, kids have to be taught about sex. They have to be educated, you know, and it's great that the school finally has decided to do this. It will happen in the school. It's about time these fucking teachers taught these kids to, you know, about sex and about protection and to be safe, whatever, to not get pregnant, whatever, uh, etc. And she was really hype about this. And I'm sitting there listening to her, and in my head I'm like, bitch, that's your responsibility. The fuck, right? But of course I didn't tell her this because listen, if you've lived long enough, you will realize that with some people or with most people, you cannot have a mature, rational, logical conversation where both parties are heard and their message, digested. It does not happen. You cannot talk to most people these days because they only want to hear what they want to hear. They don't care for a contrarian opinion. They want you to tell them what they want to hear. They want you to agree with them, right? So that is why I avoid conversations with people because, uh, they have blinders on. They're simple-minded. But anyway, so this woman whose kids were now adults, she was really happy about this. That kids were finally being taught, uh, the birds and the bees in school by teachers. Okay, and because of her reaction, which is preposterous, that is why I'm making this video. Okay, I'm gonna tell you, if you are a parent or if you want to be a parent, folks, the education of your children is your sole, singular responsibility as a parent. You are the guardian of your children, and you are tasked with their education. Not the school, not the teacher, not the government, not politicians. It is your job. It is your job. You got to get that shit into your head, okay? Because all of you are so career driven, all of you are so crazy workaholics. You identify your worth with your job, that you have omitted the most important job of all, which is to make sure to instill in your kids the proper principles so that they grow up and function normally in society as decent human beings. This is your highest job, your highest task as a parent. Okay, and you need to understand this. The fact that you allow and even support that strangers should be the ones responsible for teaching your kids about sex, right? That you need to get that shit out of your head, Okay, I know it's awkward. I know it's kind of embarrassing. Guess what? It is your fucking job. It is your fucking job as a parent. I mean, the fact that you let your kids be instructed by strangers, it's I don't understand this. I don't get it. I don't know why you're so in love with it. Like why? Because is it because a weight is being taken off your shoulders, right? Is that it? Probably. I think that a lot of young parents feel this way, that finally this burden has been relieved, from their shoulders. Well, guess what? You see, if you are a true parent, you have to take this obstacle for what it is, and you have to teach your fucking kids about sex, okay? You have to do this. You are the parent. You have sired this child. You are responsible for this child in every which way, okay? And of course, a lot of people will ask me, well, are you a parent? Well, no, I'm not a parent. I will never be a parent because I have common sense, I have critical thinking, and I just don't want to bring a child into this world. It's my prerogative. But, you see, I've had a lot of experience, a lot of time, not only in my own family, but I have observed countless others, and I don't really have a lot of good things to say about them, about their so called parenting. And this probably will be my most controversial statement. Here it is. In my view, most people today are not fit to be parents. They are not equipped for this duty. They don't have the skills, they don't have the maturity, right? And most of all, they don't have the patience, they don't have the wisdom, the knowledge. And even this, they lack the maturity and the emotional maturity, and they lack the intellectual maturity to be parents, period. And you can say whatever you want. Maybe you're a bit defensive, maybe you feel like you've been offended, whatever, right? you know and here's another argument. In other countries around the world, this sex ed has been around for decades, for a couple of generations, right? And people think that this is a great thing. Well, let's look at the results, people. Like, teen pregnancy has skyrocketed, abortions have skyrocketed, right? So what do these results tell you? What do they imply? Not so subtly, right? It implies that the school system, that the teachers who teach these kids all about the birds and the bees, they have failed miserably, right? They have failed miserably. The problem has only amplified, has only increased negatively, okay? This is because in school, this is basically sex ed. They tell you about the anatomy of the reproductive system, right? This is basically anatomy, sex ed. They tell you about the anatomy of the reproductive organs. They might tell you about contraception, okay? They might tell you how it happens, the sperm and the egg, blah, 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 9 months, whatever. This is basically it, okay? This is piss poor, this is superficial, this is this is barely scraping the barrel. And this is why so many kids, have made some serious mistakes. Kids today do not know how to pick their partners, right? They do not know how to assess a situation. They can't even tell if the person they like, if that person likes them back. You know, they don't know nothing about flirting, real flirting. They don't know about seduction. They have no charm, no charisma, right? And most importantly, this is my fucking thesis. This is key here. I don't know about you. I don't know if you've noticed, but even adults today, listen folks, listen. I believe this through and through. Most people, listen, most people today do not know how to fuck properly. I mean, you can't tell me otherwise. They do not know how to fuck properly. They do not know how to engage with their partners. They do not know how to satisfy their partners. They do not know how to arouse their partners, right? They do not know how to be tender. They do not know how to be gentle. They're incredibly impatient, right? I mean, it's crazy, bro. And yes, porn is a big reason why this is, but it is also because of this uh, goofy education that is being given in school by teachers, by strangers to your kids, right? The parents don't know shit about sex, so therefore the kids won't know shit about sex because the teachers don't know anything about sex because the committees and the board of directors don't know shit about sex, and so on and so forth. You see, this is a generational handicap when it comes to sex. Okay? So most people are not fit to be parents. Parents, it takes more to create a decent human being than just giving them, all the luxuries in life. Clothes, food, shelter, all the gadgets, It takes more. What is the essentials, the fundamentals? A child has to have a certain environment. A child has to be instilled with certain principles, moralities, ethics. A child has to be shaped and formed in a certain way, in a certain belief that is higher, elevated, sophisticated, right? A child has to learn about respect, has to learn about dignity, right? A child has to learn how to think for himself and question everything, right? A child has to grow up with a good head on his or her shoulders, right? I'm saying that there has to be some standards of quality, and these kids have to learn how to appreciate real quality, right? And the level of hypocrisy is just so overwhelming. You see, uh, some parents today, they ask, what's going on. These kids, they never read. They have no patience. They're almost autistic, right? The majority of kids today are autistic in some way or another, and I'm gonna tell you why your kids they don't read, why your kids are so rude, why your kids are so entitled. It is because this is the environment you have provided them without even knowing it, right? Your kids don't read because you don't read. Your kids don't uh, listen to, I don't know, classical music because you don't listen to classical music. Your kids do not appreciate the finer things in life, the refined things in life, because you don't appreciate them, right? Why do your kids uh, hang around this uh, entourage of what you might classify as bad people. You know, uh, I mean, it is because you also do this, right? Why do your kids? Why are your kids so impolite, so rude, so erratic, right? It is because your entire existence has revolved around your job, you know, always being active around your job, always watching the trashiest uh, uh, entertainment possible on Netflix or whatever. That is why your kids are the way that they are, lackluster, subpar. They are incomplete human beings because you, the parents, are incomplete human beings as well, because your parents have failed you and their parents have failed them, etc., etc. Okay, um, right? It's just as simple as that. You have not created an environment that respects culture, beauty, you know, a certain kind of morality. Okay, I know parents who drink and smoke and are rude in front of their children, right? And then they have the hypocrisy, the audacity to tell their kids, well, you shouldn't drink, you shouldn't smoke, you shouldn't be impolite. I mean, this is what you're doing. This is what you're doing. This is hypocrisy. Okay, so you need to get your shit together. You need to grow the fuck up. Okay, being a parent, folks, comes with certain sacrifices, right? You cannot smoke in front of your kids and expect them not to smoke. You know why all of this happens is because your kids, especially when they're extremely young, they see you as the role model. They see you as the god of their world. You see, kids, they have a very limited perspective and perception of the world. They have blinders on, they're in a bubble. And the only point of reference they have is you, the parent. Whenever something happens, they immediately are going to look at you for feedback. And if your feedback is subpar, they will adopt it as their own. Because if you react in a certain way to a situation, they're going to immediately think, well, this is the way one reacts. This is the way one thinks. This is the way one conducts himself. See, that is why we have a lot of people today that belong to the streets. They have no standards whatsoever. Okay? I mean, isn't this plainly and painfully obvious, right? um, and here is another problem that bothers me. From the millennials onwards, the young people today, you know, the young people today suffer from being juvenile, infantile. They might be adults. A lot of adults today are extremely immature. Uh, I know people that are even older than I am. I'm 32. I know people whose existence is all about video games, cheap ass shows on Netflix, anime, manga, memes, all the trash that the internet provides. I know dudes that are fucking obsessed with Nintendos or Game Boys or I don't even know, like fucking cartoons from the 80s. I don't fucking know. They have their entire wardrobe consists of t-shirts with fucking video game characters or Sonic or Smash Bros or I don't fucking know, bro. Okay? They collect Funko Pops. Their only point of reference when it comes to culture is entertainment. Culture to them is entertainment because they suffer from nostalgia, because their childhood revolved around, staring at the TV all day long, at cartoons, playing the Sega Genesis, or now kids today, they have so many devices that they're fucking staring at screens, right? Folks, if you are an adult, your childhood is over. Okay, there is a significant reason why it is called a childhood. It is for the period in which you are a child. You are a grown ass adult now. Your childhood is over. You're mature now, allegedly. Leave the childhood for the next generation of kids. You need to grow the fuck up. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Um, this is a very serious issue. A lot of people, myself included, we were raised on the television. We were raised in front of entertainment. This is the only memory that gives us comfort. This is why nostalgia happens, because of course our parents weren't weren't present, because they were working all day long. Of course, they were workaholics. Uh, you see, in my case, I was raised by the television. My folks were never around. There were some good aspects. I learned to be creative. I learned two foreign languages, but at the same time, there was a lot of damage done. Okay? You need. Listen, I have no problem with fun. I have no problem with people relaxing and enjoying, a bit of, a movie or an anime, whatever the fuck, a fucking fail compilation, whatever. But people today have gone full retard, and this is what they do. I mean, they fucking watch fucking meme videos at work, bro. They watch it on the toilet. I mean, day in and day out, this is what they do. Entertainment, video games, cartoon characters, fucking game consoles. You know, you gotta drop this nostalgia. Okay, your childhood is over. Okay, it is because of this. This is one of the reasons why the youth today is so fucked up, because the adults are presenting, they are presenting a reality in which this is appropriate behavior. That this is the way one conducts himself today. I mean, I have a few people that I follow online. They're grown ass adults, and all that they can talk about is TV shows, movies, video games, game consoles. You know, their wardrobe is entirely about fucking, I don't know, imaginary characters and fucking video games. You know what I'm trying to say? Right? It's all about fucking entertainment. Okay? After a while, entertainment gets dull. Okay? Uh, so, because this is why people, and especially kids today, behave and conduct themselves in a certain manner that is grotesque, that is mediocre, banal, average, ordinary, subpar, whatever you want to call it, because there's something missing. The last couple of generations are missing something quintessential. All right? The people before us didn't have the body of knowledge, didn't have the wisdom, they had no dignity, they had no self respect, and they almost didn't care that their children were wasting their time on garbage, nonsensical garbage. They didn't have the time of day to make sure that their kids turned out to be decent human beings that occupy themselves with, you know, what would you call it? Higher occupations, serious occupations. People today are children. People today are children. This cannot be denied. Adults today are just as childish as their kids. This is irrefutable, undeniable. Most people are not fit to be parents. Okay, and I could go on and on. You reap what you sow if you conduct yourself in a egregious way. Do not be surprised when your kids turn out the same way, because it's like looking in a mirror. You see, your kids emulate you. Your kids mimic how you think. Your kids copy how you behave. They adopt all of the habits that you have. And if they are bad habits, etc., etc., they will be just as mediocre as you are. But a lot of people, they don't have the courage to admit this. They cannot even imagine that they, the parents, are to blame in this situation. Right? It is your fault. And until you admit this, guess what? Uh, your kids are almost beyond salvation at this point, and you are to blame for this. Okay, but that's about it. If you want to support your boy, I got a few books on Amazon. The link will be down below. Okay, I'm not about that bullshit. I'm not about hypocrisy. I cannot be deceived. Truth above all else. Okay, thanks for watching. See ya.